Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Ardis. This is the Dr. Ardis Show. I hope you've had a great week so far. This is Wednesday, usually is when this goes live. So I want to hope that you guys had a great week. I want you to know I just got back from London this weekend. I'd like to thank Alistair and the Battersea Park Clinic for inviting me to come and be a speaker at their first ever conference. And they said that it was an incredible presentation. I did over 2 days there and was a part of Q&A panels with Dr. Sandra Michaels, Jason Shirka, and others. And it was actually a really great honor to be there. Greatest compliment was an MD that was in attendance came up to me on day 2 and said the day one's presentation that I did there on all the health benefits of nicotine and the lies the medical profession tells was, as he reported, the greatest presentation he'd ever seen. So that was very exciting. And he said, we have all been lied to. All right, we're going to be right back after this commercial break. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Dr. Ardis Show. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Ardis, and this entire show is being brought to you this week by our own supplement called taurine. Taurine is an amino acid, and in fact, this entire show is going to be about the reversing of aging, the lifespan extending, the disease reversing, actual proven benefits of this amino acid when supplemented every day. It's been proven to reverse cardiovascular disease, improve high blood pressure, to extend the life of every multi-cell organism that's ever supplemented taurine. And we're talking about worms like parasites, to birds, to monkeys, to plants, to even humans. People, any humans, animals, life forms with multiple cells in their body, if they're supplementing taurine, you can expand their lifespan and the healthy years of their lives with taurine. So we're going to dive into that. Now, in case you didn't know, Dr. Stephanie Seneff at MIT has done several interviews here at the Dr. Ardis Show. But this is her book, Toxic Legacy, that she came out with a couple of years ago. We did an entire show on this. You guys should go back and watch it and read it. This book is all about the chemical being sprayed all over the world called glyphosate. You want a book that's going to blow your mind, literally because of all the heavy science in it. That one's going to do it. It is an incredible read, an incredibly well documented presentation on all the destructive natures of glyphosate on our soil, in our plants, and in the human beings' bodies. And one of the things she mentions in there is the glyphosate's assault on taurine, the amino acid taurine. In fact, when I read her book several years ago called Toxic Legacy, I think it came out 4 or 5 years ago, within 1 month, I was offering taurine to our audiences. I asked her in my interview if she would recommend it, and she said, I actually don't recommend any supplements of any kind. I just provide the research. So even though it didn't come out of her mouth, read the book so you understand and learn what's the impact of this disease prevention amino acid and anti-aging amino acid called taurine and the assault by glyphosate, and you will realize why it is this topic is so important for all of you today. So if you're interested in improving your health at all, you might want to stick around about some of the things your MD is not going to tell you. I guarantee you 99.9% of all MDs you talk to about taurine, they don't have a clue what in the world you're even talking about. It'll be foreign language to them. So this is a nutrient found in plants and actually is inside every human being on Earth. There's a reason why you have it. And as we age, it declines in massive amounts. So as it exponentially goes down, taurine in our bodies, disease processes and aging accelerate. So let's dive in. I'm actually going to spend the second half of this entire podcast. I'm actually going to open up a research study on taurine that I've never read fully. But as I started to read it, I was like, whoa, I should actually just go through this entire study with the audiences. So you can kind of watch how my mind gets excited about research studies. And together, you and I can even learn probably more about taurine than what I'm actually going to present to you here. But I have a PowerPoint presentation. Remember, you can get this at the drardisshow.com under patient resources. These are all the beneficial things we've put together for you that taurine provides a benefit for consideration. If you're not supplementing it, you might want to know why I'm taking it. People constantly are amazed that I have 5 kids, 4 kids that are adults, and that my wife and I together have 8 total kids, 7 of which are all adults, and we have grandkids now, multiple of them. They always want to know, how do I look so young? Well, I actually take supplements that are specifically designed to keep me looking young, feeling young, and being healthy while young. I don't know about aging. I don't mind aging, but I don't want to feel bad while aging. So I take things every single day, eat certain ways, drink only certain things because I want to stay healthy and I want to live a very active, non-symptom latent life. All right. So let's get into it. Let's dive into my presentation. It's titled Why Taurine is what we called it. All right. So why taurine? Here's the first slide you'll see on the screen. Why supplement taurine? Yep, that's how it's spelled. Well, in Science News, an online medical journal, they actually have this entire article titled Taurine May Be a Key to Longer and Healthier Life. This was written in 2023, just last year. Source comes from Columbia University's Irving Medical Center. In their summary of this article, a study finds that deficiency of taurine, a molecule produced in our bodies, drives aging, and taurine supplements can improve health and increase lifespan in animals. Now, before I even go any further, I want to remind the audiences I've done this with other presentations. I've actually shown you that scientists who do research on food, supplements, drugs, vaccines on animals, they 100% of the time profess in their writings and in their research that we do research on animals before humans because all mammals that are animals have the exact same genetic makeup that humans do. They have the same chromosomes, the same genes. Therefore, what happens in the animals will happen to the humans. So when they're doing studies that you're going to see referenced here in this entire presentation, when they say they've discovered that in mice and rabbits and ferrets and goats and you name it, monkeys, that taurine has made improvements to every aspect of their life and of their health, you absolutely can substitute yourself right in there. Human beings will have the exact same effect. Research scientists know all medications, chemicals, vaccines, foods that are fed to mammals that have the same genetic makeup as humans, which mice also do have. They confidently state, we study these in animals first because everything that happens in the animals will happen in the human, no matter what the drug, vaccine, or chemical is they're studying. In this scenario, they're studying taurine, and they find that it's extending life and reducing disease outcomes. All right, so in the story, also continuing, ScienceDaily.com, a deficiency of taurine, a nutrient produced in the body and found in many foods, is a driver of aging in animals. According to a new study led by Columbia researchers and involving dozens of aging researchers around the world. In Health and Wellness Online magazine, written by Renee Onque, she has a titled article from 2023 also. Taurine is the latest anti-aging supplement touting promising results. Here's what scientists say, and I quote, in purple, you'll read highlighted, taurine, an amino acid that humans produce naturally, is the latest anti-aging supplement that shows potential for increasing longevity. We're going to continue. The amino acid can be found naturally in animal products and in byproducts like beef, shellfish, and dairy. It is often an ingredient in popular energy drinks. Though taurine levels naturally decline as you age, new research suggests that supplementing taurine may slow down or reverse aging in older animals like worms, mice, and monkeys. In Make It CNBC magazine, they published this article by Neil Paulvin in 2023. Longevity doctor shares the #1 supplement he's been taking every day to slow down aging and how he feels now. Want to guess what he's talking about? Well, highlighted in blue, you will see the words taurine, an essential amino acid. But let's go to the top of this article on the screen. I've spent 20 years, this guy writes or states, as a longevity researcher and regenerative medicine doctor. And one of the most common questions I get is what kind of supplements I take to slow down the aging process. The supplement I've been taking, he says, every day for the past few years is taurine, an essential amino acid that plays a vital role in the body's digestive systems control, cardiovascular, skeletal, muscular, and nervous system, including the eyes. You're about to learn about eye protection by the taurine. He then continues in the article, I've since noticed an improvement in my overall energy level, exercise performance, and recovery time with taurine. There's taurine. Now, as we go further into the CNBC article, you will see they state taurine, which we offer at the Dr. Ardis Show. And they actually write in this article, though, on CNBC, that it can improve heart health. I'm going to read the whole 2 paragraphs here. Aging often takes a toll on the heart, leading to an increased risk of cardiovascular diseases. Taurine has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory qualities, and it allows the body to balance electrolytes and improve lipids. So, if you're taking salt, magnesium, chloride, potassium, any of these things that are considered electrolytes, calcium included, taurine improves their balancing. He then continues, it aids with the blood pressure regulation, taurine does, and supports blood vessel function, too, which helps maintain optimal blood flow and ultimately reduce the risk of high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, which is plaquing of your arteries and hardening of your arteries, and heart attacks. Actually, the hardening of your arteries is called arteriosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is the plaquing inside your arteries. They just misquoted it here. But taurine helps to prevent heart attacks. And in this research study, we found in Nutrients magazine in 2020 the anti-inflammatory effect of taurine, the supplement, on cardiovascular disease. In the summary at the top of the article, you'll see highlighted in blue on the screen, taurine exerts anti-inflammatory effects that improve diabetes and has shown benefits to the cardiovascular system, possibly by inhibiting the renin-angiotensin system, ACE2 system. The beneficial effects of taurine are reviewed in this article. In the conclusions of their review, they published a plethora, so multiple evidences, reveals that anti-inflammatory properties of taurine. Consumption of seafood abundant in taurine may be a factor in preventing cardiovascular diseases, including cardiovascular arteriosclerotic disease, and prolonging life expectancies, even living longer with taurine from this study. Taurine, also in the CNBC article, they published that it can improve mitochondrial's energy production in the body. It can energize the mitochondria, little batteries in your cells. In biology class, they wrote right here, you might have heard them referred to as the powerhouses of the cell, but as we age, mitochondria dysfunction can contribute to fatigue and other age-related diseases. It's not really mitochondrial dysfunction as much as it is a copper deficiency and other mineral deficiencies that lead to the mitochondria not being able to make energy. Taurine supplements, they write, can help protect these organelles from damage. And in this research paper in Molecules Online Journal 2021, the role of taurine in mitochondrial health, they write it's more than just an antioxidant. And inside of the summary of this research paper, they write, accumulating studies have shown that taurine supplementation also protects against pathologies, diseases that are associated with mitochondrial defects, such as aging, mitochondrial diseases, metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is what you see primarily in Americans who are overweight with a large waistline, with elevated triglyceride cholesterol, elevated LDL cholesterol, lower HDL cholesterol, and high blood pressure. That is what mitochondrial syndrome is, metabolic syndrome. Also included, taurine supplementation protects against cardiovascular disease and neurological disorders. And in this research paper, they review a general review on the mitochondrial biology and the consequence of mitochondrial deficits or defects in disease states. Then they say they will discuss the antioxidant action of taurine, particularly in relation to the maintenance of mitochondrial function. We also described several reported studies on the current use of taurine supplementation in several mitochondrial-associated pathologies in humans. So this whole study is about reviewing studies using taurine to improve disease outcomes in humans. In their conclusion part of this paper, they wrote, taurine therapy supplemented, therefore, could potentially improve mitochondrial health, particularly in mitochondria-targeted pathologies such as cardiovascular diseases, metabolic diseases, mitochondrial diseases, and neurological diseases like MS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. Taurine, in the CNBC article, they also conclude that it can stimulate stem cell production. Now, this is a hot topic by Dr. Ed Group, Jonathan Otto, and others who promote urine therapy or urotherapy, drinking your own urine. They constantly talk about Johns Hopkins University's study they conducted in the 2010s, where they found stem cells in the hundreds of thousands just after a few days of urine being allowed to age in a jar. And that urine was providing this environment of stem cells to be quickly, rapidly grown. in aged urine. I believe it's like up to 23 days of aging urine. They've seen a lot of stem cells being produced by urine, in the urine. And then they are proposing people can drink that. In this taurine summary, they're telling you taurine, the amino acid, can stimulate stem cells to be regenerated and to grow. And they write here that stem cells hold the key to tissue repair and regeneration. But as the body ages, the numbers of stem cells decline. Studies have shown that taurine can help stimulate stem cell production, particularly nerve stem cells, like for the brain and spinal cord, which can boost brain function, in addition to regenerating various tissues throughout the body. How miraculous is that? To regrow tissues that have been damaged or injured. And in this study, they discuss the nerve cells being regrown and regenerated, and its speed at which it does that increased with taurine. The title of the study is Taurine Induces Growth of Neural Stem Cells and Synapse Development in the Developing Mouse Brain. And that's exactly what they are doing. They wanted to know, does taurine speed up how fast brains are healing themselves, the cells of the brain tissue? And you can read it there that it actually is doing it. And that's the summary from the actual paper. We won't dive into that just yet, but just know taurine has been proven. We will dive into more about this and later into the radio show. But those of you with neurological diseases, concerns of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, dementia, and movements, seizures, taurine should be an amino acid all of you should be consuming every single day. You'll see why here later. Taurine, it's also reported in the CNBC's article, taurine, it can increase muscle mass. So for anybody who's doing it doesn't matter if you're in a nursing home, assisted living home, if you're doing assisted workouts, doing in the pool exercises, if you're using exercise balls, it doesn't matter. Taurine can increase muscle mass. And all you younger groups that are actually at the gyms doing CrossFit, Orange Theory, you name it, whatever you're doing, going to LA Fitness, Gold's Gym, bodybuilding, taurine, you all are hearing about it in all your circles of influence. Taurine, the amino acid, speeds up the growth of muscle tissue. It also increases speed at which your muscles engage. Taurine functions as a cell volumizer, they write, drawing water into muscle cells and creating a more favorable environment for muscle growth. This may also allow individuals to train harder and over time build more muscle. Combined with a proper diet and exercise regimen, all of this can help slow the aging process. Now, this is a study in which they took taurine and they wanted to know, does it improve muscle integrity, strength, speed of muscles with people that are working out? This is done during the pandemic, by the way. They found after the first exercise with 2 grams of taurine 3 times a day can decrease DNA damage. Now, DNA damage is important, obviously. So you want to decrease DNA damage. Even in your workouts, you're damaging muscle to repair and build new muscle, but you don't want to destroy DNA, hurt DNA, create an autoimmune triggered disease. Also 5G radiation, venoms, they all damage DNA. Taurine, we're teaching you right now, and on top of exercise can help protect the damage to DNA. Regarding strength exercise, a low dose of taurine supplemented 0.05 grams with strength exercise improves enzyme antioxidants and muscular fatigue by reducing exercise-induced oxidative stress. There's something called lactic acid that gets built up into our muscles as we're working out, and it'll make your muscles very, very sore, and it makes it harder for you to keep on working out. They're telling you that taurine reduces that inflammatory response and makes it easier for you to work out harder, longer, to build more muscle. Taurine is also reported in the CNBC article. It can help repair DNA. One of the hallmarks of aging is accumulated DNA damage, which can lead to mutations and an increased risk of cancer and other diseases, as they report. Taurine exhibits DNA protective capabilities due to its ability to scavenge harmful free radicals while supporting DNA repair mechanisms that can reduce the occurrence of genetic mutations and contributes to overall cellular health. And here is an example of one study of taurine looking at its ability to protect DNA damage of even muscles. And this goes even in line with the working out physiology one. This is Frontiers Physiology 2020. They found taurine reverses muscle function under overuse conditions in several ways. So this is actually perfect for all you trainers, even marathon runners that were putting their body under a lot of strenuous stress. You might want to consider taurine to protect mitochondrial oxidative stress production, which is ROS. regulating membrane potential, prevents DNA damage, and inducing muscle regulatory proteins. ROS could be the mediator in organizing these conditions, and taurine helps to prevent it. Taurine also, it's published, can lower blood pressure. Taurine has demonstrated the potential to lower blood pressure through several mechanisms. It relaxes the blood vessels, called vasodilation. It leads to improved blood flow and reduced pressure on arterial walls. Taurine also has been shown to inhibit the release of stress hormones like cortisol, which can raise blood pressure. Cortisol is a hormone released by your adrenal glands. They release adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol is that hormone if you're laying down at night in your bed and you can't fall asleep. That's because your cortisol levels are out the roof, and cortisol makes you stay awake thinking about stuff. Now, in this study, in relationship to stress, cortisol hormones, blood pressure, this is a study titled Taurine Supplementation Lowers Blood Pressure and Improves Vascular Function in Pre-Hypertension Patients. Those who have not been given high blood pressure drugs yet, but their blood pressure is coming up. Now, in this study I have highlighted here, they wrote, administration of taurine, so supplementing taurine for 12 weeks, significantly reduced blood pressures of these individuals. The clinic systolic blood pressure, the upper number, and the diastolic blood pressure, the lower number, decreased in the taurine group. The systolic blood pressure dropped by 7 points. The diastolic, the bottom number, dropped by 4, almost 5 points in just 12 weeks. Respectively, compared with the baseline values. However, these changes were not evident at all in the placebo group. The placebo group did not get taurine. The group that got taurine, they saw a significantly reduced blood pressure after 12 weeks solely. That's 3 months of supplementing taurine every single day, which is an incredible finding. Taurine, this is in a magazine called Science. Taurine deficiency as a driver for aging. In this actual study, they write that taurine is a semi-essential micronutrient and is one of the most abundant amino acids in the humans and other eukaryotes, multicell organisms. Earlier studies have shown that the concentration of taurine in the blood correlates with health, but it is unknown whether blood taurine concentrations affect our aging. To address this gap in knowledge, we are measuring the blood content of taurine during aging, and we're investigating the effect of taurine supplemented on health span and lifespan of several species of animals. Earlier studies, they say, have shown the concentration of taurine in blood correlates with health outcomes. All right, so let's continue here. Blood concentration of taurine declines with age in mice, monkeys, and humans. Taurine-fed mice of both sexes, males and females, survived longer than control mice, and the median lifespan of taurine-treated mice increased by 10 to 12%. Could you imagine taking a supplement that guarantees you could live 10 to 12% longer than the normal lifespan? And this is very important. You could take 500 milligrams of taurine in the Ardis Labs taurine supplement. You could increase your lifespan by 7 to 9 years just by taking that one supplement. This is what they found in mice studies. A meaningful anti-aging therapy should not only improve lifespan, but also health span, the period of healthy living. We therefore investigated what does taurine do to middle-aged mice, and they found that not only did taurine improve their lifespan, it improved the function of their bones, muscle, their pancreas, their brains, their fat, their gut, and their immune systems, indicating an overall increase in health span is what they observed. And then they did it again and replicated the same finding in monkey studies, which supposedly evolutionists want to say we are the next steps from. So if it worked for all these animals, it's going to work for you. Now we're going to dive into a study on the opposite side of this commercial break. We'll be right back with more Dr. Ardis Show and why I say taurine should be supplemented. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Dr. Ardis Show. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Ardis. We're going to continue our dive into the incredible lifespan increasing and disease preventing benefits of an amino acid called taurine. So this segment's we're going to continue. It's going to be brought to you by taurine. Taurine you can get at the drardisshow.com. It's one of the incredible products, I believe, was essential to bring out 5 or 6 years ago, right at the beginning of COVID, when we saw all the 5G towers going up, the weaponizing of venoms all around the world to damage your DNA. We needed to make sure that there was a supplement like taurine available to people, an amino acid proven clinically and in research, scientifically backed research studies, that taurine by itself prevents and reverses DNA damage in the human body and in all mammals. So that's what we're going to explore here. Now, before I dive into a new research study, like I mentioned, I want to finish what we were showing before we went to commercial break. So I'm going to continue our presentation here because there's a few slides I just want to make sure all of you get. All right, so to continue in the taurine PowerPoint presentation, they continued in this study, science.org, that investigations into the mechanism or mechanisms through which taurine supplemented improved the health span and lifespan revealed that taurine positively affected several hallmarks of aging. Taurine, the amino acid that you can get as a supplement, reduced cellular senescence. If you don't know what senescence is cells aging process. So it reduces how quickly all cells in the human body die. This is why it is an anti-aging amino acid. Taurine also protected against telomerase deficiency. Telomerase is what is essential for growing new tissue. You cannot regrow tissue without telomerase doing it. It also, taurine suppressed mitochondrial dysfunction. So you were producing more ATP and energy for every cell. Taurine decreased DNA damage, and it's halted or stopped inflammatory pathways in the body. That's incredible that taurine can do all that. How many people listening to the show right now are struggling or living with inflammatory conditions? An association analysis of metabolite clinical risk factors in humans showed that lower taurine, hypotaurine is what they call it. Hypo means low, low taurine, and lower N-acetyltaurine concentrations, another version of taurine, were associated with adverse health outcomes such as increased abdominal obesity, being overweight in the belly, is associated with lower taurine levels in the blood. Lower taurine levels are also associated with high blood pressure, called hypertension. Low taurine levels in the blood equal more inflammation in the body, arthritis, lupus, fibromyalgia, you name it. And then also low taurine leads to a higher prevalence of type 2 diabetes. Moreover, we found that a bout of exercise increased a short acute exercise bout increased the concentrations of taurine metabolites in the blood, which might partially underlie the anti-aging effects of exercise. So when you're doing short bursts of exercises, you actually get an increase in taurine released in the blood. And they're saying here that could explain the anti-aging effects of exercise even. In their conclusions, taurine abundance decreases during age. A reversal of this decline through taurine supplementing increases health span and lifespan in all animals, including mice and worms and health span and even monkeys. So seeing all of this, they are asking in the very next statements, it's time now to take these taurine supplement studies to human studies because it is working for every animal that has more than one cell. In fact, in this study, they confirmed that when they gave it to yeast, it was the only thing that one cell yeast, it didn't actually multiply how long it lived, and it didn't multiply how healthy it was. Everything else that was more than one cell organism all lived longer. This is a summary of what they found. Top left, you'll see the taurine abundance. The higher the amount, the longer the animals lived. The bottom axis is the bigger rat on the bottom or mouse on the bottom. As taurine abundance goes up, their age increases, so they're living longer. Then you'll see that for yeast, on the bottom left, you'll see yeast, worms, and mice. When they gave yeast, taurine. When they gave worms, taurine. Parasitic worms. When they gave mouse, taurine. Yeast was the only organism that did not have a longer lifespan because it's a single cell organism. What they found was all of the most basic multi-cell organisms, beginning with parasitic worms even, when you give them taurine, this amino acid supplemented in their diet, they will live longer. Every mouse did, every worm did, every monkey did. And on the right, you'll see the summaries. On the top right, you'll see what all taurine does when you supplement it. It increases bone density and bone health. What all does your bones do besides being bone dense for structure and standing? Your bones, bone marrow, makes white blood cells for fighting off infections and healing wounds. Your bone marrow makes red blood cells to carry oxygen to make it to where you're not anemic and not tired and chronically fatigued. The bone marrow is massively important. It collects selenium and helps deliver all the immune cells we need throughout the body. Platelets are even made there. Every aspect of your blood's made in the bone. It increases muscle tone. Taurine increases energy. Taurine decreases fat that we accumulate in our body. Taurine increases your immune system. Taurine increases your brain's function and memory and recall. Taurine increases gut function, absorption of nutrients, and defecating out poop. And then taurine supplemented increases your pancreas's function. So taurine supplemented can do all of this. Imagine what it can do for you. Its effects on anti-aging are to the right on the bottom. You will see it actually slows down cellular death called senescence. It increases intracellular communication, so cells are communicating with each other for longer periods of time. Telomere shortening, meaning cells are going to live longer. Nutrient sensing, epigenetic changes. Well, that's miraculous. All cells in your body have genes, and those genes are turned on or off by your epigenetics. Imagine changing how you feel because your mom was depressed and you're no longer depressed if you just took taurine and turned off that epigenetic switch for depression you inherited. Gene stability, loss of proteases, mitochondrial dysfunction, stem cell exhaustion, all benefits of taurine, which I think is amazing. Dr. Ardis, we have at the Dr. Ardis Show taurine. We've had that there for 5 years now, I guess. Taurine deficiency associates and their appearing poor health scenarios include for human beings. These are all signs that you're deficient in taurine. Diabetic, overweight, you've been diagnosed with liver disease, you have abdominal obesity, you live with inflammation or pain, you're hypertensive, have high blood pressure, you have high blood sugar, and your BMI, your body mass index, is higher than it should be. If you have any of those scenarios, you're low on taurine, and you're the guys and women that would benefit from taking supplement, seeing taurine every single day. One capsule of taurine at the Dr. Ardis Show has 500 milligrams of taurine. I'm about to dive into a research paper. I know the doses of taurine for these conditions I'm about to share with you are much higher than the 500 milligrams in taurine. Just remember, when you see gram doses in the next study I'm going to show you, don't be overwhelmed. 1 gram is 2 capsules of taurine. And if you wanted to try to get enough taurine to do what the study's about to show you, then you're just going to need to open the capsules of taurine from the Dr. Ardis Show and pour them out, or you're going to have to order bulk taurine powder and start supplementing it to get the other gram totals. Either way, I'm fine as long as you're getting what you need. So you'll see on the screen, we're offering in 1 bottles, 3 bottles, 6 bottles with a discount. If you buy those in bulk or subscribe to those, even better, coming to you monthly, which is great. So you don't forget. That's what I do. I subscribe to my own products, so they show up every month. All right, let's dive into this next research paper. I've got to show you this. I think this is very exciting. Titled, The Role of Taurine in Mitochondrial Health. It's more than just an antioxidant. All right, so for the next 12 minutes, we're going to dive into taurine. Just remember, this whole segment's being brought to you by a supplement called taurine. I was introduced to taurine and the amino acids benefits to the human body when I was studying the book Toxic Legacy by Stephanie Seneff of MIT about the detrimental side effects of glyphosate. And one of the things she highlights in the book is its destruction of an amino acid called taurine. And as a result of reading that book and doing interviews with her over her book, I had to immediately start carrying a taurine product. And so that's why you see taurine for the last 5 years at the Dr. Ardis Show. All right, so we're going to go through this research study for the next 12 minutes only. We're not going to dive into all of it, but I want you and I to learn some stuff together. When I came across this study, I like these reviews. These types of reviews will go looking into all the published medical literature, all the research studies online, and they want to know what all has been said about taurine and what has been found conclusively in studies. And then of those studies, which ones were fraudulent studies, not really put together very well. Let's dismiss those and let's just get to the good ones. So what can we summarize are some of the known benefits science has proven of various things. And in this case, this is a review of all the benefits of taurine. All right, so let's dive into the abstract of taurine. So just follow along. I'll highlight stuff as we go. Taurine is a naturally occurring sulfur-containing amino acid that is found abundantly in excitatory tissues such as the heart, the brain, your retina, your eyes, and skeletal muscles. Taurine was first isolated in the 1800s, but not much was known about the molecule until the 1990s, 110 years later. Well, in 1985, taurine was first approved as the treatment among heart failure patients in Japan. Well, how many cardiologists in America are recommending taurine to their cardiovascular disease patients? Zero. All right. Well, they should after they see this presentation and read Japan's work since the 1980s. All right. Accumulating studies have shown that taurine supplementation also protects against pathologies associated with mitochondrial defects, such as aging, mitochondrial diseases, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular diseases, and neurological disorders. In this review, we will provide a general overview on the mitochondrial biology and the consequences of mitochondrial deficits in pathologies. Then we will discuss the antioxidant action of taurine, particularly in relationship to the maintenance of mitochondrial function. We will also describe several reported studies on the current use of taurine supplements in several mitochondrial-associated pathologies in humans. They're going to start talking about mitochondria. Mitochondria are these cellular organelles you'll see here on the screen that regulate various essential cellular processes, including making energy called ATP for your cells. Some mitochondria diseases, impairment of mitochondria function, has been commonly reported in aging, cardiovascular diseases, mitochondrial diseases, metabolic syndrome, and brain disorders. Often these pathologies are characterized by increased oxidative stress, reduced energy called ATP generation, mitochondria make ATP, apoptosis, which is cell death, programmed cell death of your body kills dying cells, impaired mitochondrial biogenesis, so your body's not making new mitochondrial organelles, little bitty organs in the cells, and mitochondria are also indicated in impaired activity of electron transport chain and in the ability to mishandle calcium. Recently, there's increasing evidence in studies of labs and in human bodies demonstrated the beneficial effects of taurine in maintaining mitochondrial functions. There's what taurine looks like as a chemical for all of you chemists. Here's some of the different forms of taurine, or actually how taurine is excreted from the body, removed from the body, how it's broken down and synthesized. In most mammals, including humans, rodents, and some primates, taurine is considered a conditionally essentially amino acid, as cysteine dioxygenase and CSAD are present abundantly. Mammals primarily depend on taurine in the body and partially from diet, such as from meat, seafood, and human milk. I found this interesting when I read this earlier. Newborns and young infants are unable to make taurine as well as adult humans, and therefore are dependent on taurine supplemented diets. Clinical studies suggest in investigating infants supplemented with or without taurine showed that inadequate taurine supplementation impairs fat absorption and bile acid secretion and causes hepatic and retinal dysfunction. Retinals in the eyes, blindness. Due to the importance of taurine, which I'm talking about today, due to the importance of taurine in neonatal development, babies' development, mothers are strongly encouraged to breastfeed due to the high concentration of taurine in breast milk, or feed infants with taurine supplemented formulas and taurine supplemented total parenteral nutrition. Now, I don't know about you, but I did not know this. Actually, so I started reading this article. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that taurine was significantly found in the amounts of breast milk in feeding children. Well, I made sure all of my children, all 5 of them, were breastfed and never formula fed. That was just very important to me. And what have we seen is just massive amounts of evidence that the brains, the neurological development of children who are breastfed, their IQ levels are higher, their incidences of missing school, failing classes, courses, all their scoring, accolades, and IQ tests all perform better in those that are breastfed than those who are not. So this is just another reason why it is, I believe, that we should continue to encourage young mothers, granddaughters, young daughters to breastfeed over formula feeding, personally. God already made the human body make everything the baby needs until it needs to be weaned and get food otherwise. All right, so on the other hand, I want to continue here in this study. On the other hand, the activities of taurine, this is where I'm starting. The activities of taurine and its enzymes are low in cats, dogs, and foxes, and therefore they primarily depend on a taurine supplemented diet. When fed with a diet deficient in taurine, those same animals develop diseases of heart disease and myocardial dysfunction, retinal, eye blindness or retinal detachment, and tapetal degeneration that leads to blindness. Well, how many Senior citizens are dealing with the same things. These same animals develop neurological abnormalities, weakened immune responses, pregnancy and fetal development complications, as well as gastrointestinal problems, which is exactly what's happening to humans who are also having taurine destroyed by glyphosate, and they are not supplementing taurine. This is why I believe, just like myself and my wife and my kids, why it is we encourage them all to supplement taurine every day. And I do too. In contrast, when fed with taurine supplemented diets, these animals were protected against diseases such as cardiomyopathy, seizure, retinopathy, and showed improved reproductive performance and neurological development. How about that? They couldn't get pregnant before, now they can. Taurine has also been added to energy drinks such as Red Bull, Monster, Tab Energy, and Rockstar. It was estimated that on average there is 750 milligrams of taurine in an 8-ounce can of energy drink. While energy drinks mainly provide an energy boost, the exact role of taurine in energy drinks remains unclear, as energy drinks also contain additional additives such as caffeine, ginseng, vitamins, antioxidants, and sugars. They don't even know why these energy drinks are adding it to them. However, two reviews by Kurtz and Siddall and their cohorts have described the influence of taurine on exercise performance. Well, I actually have a trainer. I go to a gym. In that gym, there's always Monster and Rockstar drinks for sale. I guarantee you the taurine is in there, thinking that a lot of the people going into the gyms to work out are going to use the high caffeine content of those drinks, and they are going to get benefits from the taurine inside of it to improve muscle mass building. And it is true. That is exactly what taurine does. All right, so I want to keep going down here. Taurine as a therapeutic agent in mitochondrial dysfunction. Just remember, this is your mitochondria. They're showing you what it is. Taurine is used to actually improve mitochondrial function and protect the DNA structure of the mitochondria. It reduces superoxide dismutase generation in the mitochondria, which protects against oxidative stress. So it's an antioxidant. Taurine is. I'm not going to drive into that one. There's another one I want to get to. This helps manage the calcium management inside the cells of our body. Taurine inhibits mitochondrial mediated apoptosis or cell death, which may be premature. Taurine stops the mitochondria from killing itself prematurely. Now, this is what I wanted to get to. In the section 6, it's titled Clinical Applications of Taurine Supplemented in Various Diseases. I want to read this to you. When it comes to heart disease, it's still the #1 or #2 killer in every industrialized nation in the world right now. But taurine supplemented was first used to treat heart failure patients by Azuma's group in Japan in 1985, as you learned earlier. Most heart failure patients receiving taurine supplements of 2 to 3 grams, that is exactly 4 to 6 of my capsules daily, for a range of 4 to 8 weeks, showed improvement in the systolic left ventricle function as evidenced by increased cardiac output and stroke volume, ejection fraction, and mean velocity. This means the blood being pumped out of the heart was improved by taurine being supplemented in just a few short weeks of 2 to 3 grams. That would be 4 to 6 capsules of taurine every single day. Anybody out there who's listening, if you have a loved one whose heart's not ejecting blood enough to force enough blood into their tissues, they have cold fingers, cold toes, cold legs, their fingers have Raynaud syndrome, you need to get them on taurine. Taurine helps to improve that. They then combined in this study, they want to know what's the effects of taurine and CoQ10, and they found taurine by itself far exceeds what CoQ10 does. So 500 milligrams, they even start getting down into it. 500 milligrams of taurine supplementation 3 times a day, that's 3 of mine a day, showed improved exercise capacity. You could exercise longer, had more energy, could push more weight, and now they get into hypertension. Taurine was also shown that when supplemented among patients with high blood pressure, if you took 1.5 grams per day for at least 12 weeks, that's 3 capsules of taurine, you would see improved lowered blood pressure and improved blood vessel function, which I find phenomenal. Then they get into 61 different population groups in 25 different countries have reported regular taurine intake through daily consumption of seafood, nuts, soy, and milk reduces the prevalence of heart disease, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Metabolic syndrome, anybody who has high blood pressure, who has high LDL cholesterol, who has low HDL cholesterol, has high triglycerides, has high blood sugar, you have metabolic syndrome. Taurine supplemented with type 2 diabetes has shown to reduce inflammation and reduce all diabetic complications. So please consider that. Taurine is amazing at getting rid of the complications, including neuropathies associated with diabetes. In fact, they found here taurine has also been administered in overweight and obese individuals and has shown promising therapeutic effects on blood lipid breakdown. A study done by Rosa and their group reported that obese women supplemented with 3 grams a day, that would be 6 of my capsules of taurine a day for 8 weeks, had a significant increase in the content of their blood's plasma and what is called adiponectin, and a significant decrease in pro-inflammatory markers. The adiponectin breaks down fat cells in your body. So if you want to increase weight loss, increase heart function, increase immunity, taurine should be a part of your daily regimen.